Hello everybody, it is great to be with you again, even if it is by video. We welcome you back. Thank you for joining us. Today's our second refresh message this week. I'm Pastor Steve Green. Today is Thursday, April 22nd, and we're talking about entering by the narrow gate. Most people miss the narrow gate, but not us. We're getting it. We have been getting it. We're getting it now. We're going to get it, and that's what we're talking about, how to make sure that we get it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1, we read, Paul says, "We then as workers together with him also plead with you not to receive the grace of God in vain." Not to receive the grace of God in vain. Well, they have received the grace of God. We were talking about that yesterday. We saw the same thought being presented in the previous chapter 3 times, that Jesus died on the cross. He was made to be sin for us. He died for our sins. He reconciled us to God. And so because all of those things were true for the Corinthians, they're true also for us. That means, that means that we have received the grace of God. Now, Paul is then progressing in his line of thought, and he says, now that you have the grace of God, make sure that you do not receive it in vain or to no good end. And that would be by responding to the grace that we have. And he, again, 3 times, saying the same thing, using different words. He's telling us how to respond. We respond, if we have been reconciled, then we respond by being reconciled. If Jesus died for us, then we no longer live for ourselves. He was made to be sin that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. So receiving it in vain would be not living righteously. It would be living for ourselves. It would be not being reconciled to him in our actions. In verse 2 of chapter 6, he says, "In an acceptable time I've heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." So Paul is saying to the Corinthians, now is your time of salvation. Now is your time to respond. Now is your time to seize the salvation that God has freely provided for you. Now is the time to not receive the grace of God in vain, but to put that grace to work, to respond to it, to live righteously. We're saved by grace. To decline the offer to live righteously is to decline our salvation. The benefit of salvation that we've been highlighting here recently, and I love it, and I love the fact that it's repeated literally over and over and over and over again in the scriptures so that we can't miss it, and coming at it from different angles, is that as we accept that we have the grace, as we respond to the grace, as we step out in faith, as we live righteously, as we are reconciled to God, as we do not live for ourselves, we develop the supernatural capacity to see spiritually and know and understand from God's viewpoint the things that are going on around us. Thank you again. We'll be with you tomorrow.